The Toyota Way. 14 Management Principles from the World's Greatest Manufacturer by Jeffrey Liker, President of Liker Lean Advisors. This is the final chapter. Conclusion. Be thoughtful and evolve your enterprise. In the science fiction book called Prentice Alvin by Orson Scott Card, his main character, Alvin Maker, could with his mind sense weaknesses in the connection between atoms and then manipulate the atoms to fix the problem, like curing breaks in bones and repairing damaged iron parts. He observed people who worked well together smoothly, like they knew each other's next move. He almost laughed out loud, thinking, thousands of people knowing each other that well, moving to fit each other just right, working together. Who could stand in the way of such people? The lesson and secret of the Toyota Way is just as clear as this. It creates bonds among individuals and partners such that they are, as Orson Scott Card said, moving to fit each other just right, working together toward a common goal. The total management system is not a small thing to learn from. I'm actually asking your organization's leadership to learn to think longer term through systems thinking, to focus on a clear purpose for society and customers, develop lean processes, blow up your culture and make it more people-centered, and develop leaders who understand the Gemba, think scientifically, and teach others. I also want you to engage all employees in continuous improvement, develop value stream partnerships, and let strategy and deployed goals guide your improvement activities. It's a lot to take in. Fortunately, you don't have to do this quickly in a single step, and this image is a future vision to strive for, not something you can quickly implement. And it needs to be crafted to be your vision, not a knockoff of Toyota. I have observed a comfortable tendency toward mechanistic implementation. Many companies try to rapidly force-fit lean tools into their operations, thinking they are copying Toyota. Trying to motivate managers with extrinsic rewards and punishments only means they will comply, not lead. Toyota Sensei, when they work with outside companies, use a different approach. They start more slowly in a small model area, sometimes called a lighthouse project. And they put managers in charge from the beginning. They act as teachers, challenging, asking questions, and then expect the local managers to struggle to figure out what to do next at each step. Their goal is to develop the people who directly lead the value-added workers. Successful struggle with some failures along the way is a great thing for learning. It is certainly comfortable not to struggle using a mechanistic approach, but that will not lead to anything even approaching excellence, and it's not the reality of what TPS is supposed to be, which is an organic process, a way of thinking, a management philosophy, a focus on total customer service, and an environment of teamwork and improvement. It's evolutionary, and you need to evolve your system, not try to cut and paste Toyota's system. What I've seen actually work well in practice is approaching lean deployment scientifically. Based on facts and data, learning as you go with a compass but no roadmap. It's what Toyota calls Plan, Do, Check, Act, or PDCA, and it's a continual process of improvement, step by step, experimenting at every step. Toyota Kata is a way that Mike Rother developed to help managers coach their team members to think more scientifically through deliberate practice and corrective feedback from the coach. There are a set of kata, small routines that you develop as a habit for both learning to improve and learning to coach. Imagine a continuous improvement leader who has experience with real TPS, was trained in Toyota Kata, and is given the assignment to transform a plant to lean and get some specific results. Rather than charge off and start implementing solutions, she would step back and approach it scientifically using something like the improvement kata model. In Mike Rother's improvement kata, you start with the challenge. What are we really trying to accomplish with lean transformation? What's our long-term vision? What would success look like 1 year out? And how would we measure it? Number 2, what is the current condition? Where are we now in our processes and people? In step 3, we develop the next target condition, a smaller step, and the obstacles to that target condition. Let's get started, but not follow a laid out plan to the challenge. Rather, let's break down the challenge into small steps, one bite at a time. We'll work toward the next target condition by overcoming obstacles. When we reach this, we can then reflect, define our next target condition, and so on. Number 4 is when we start to act, the fun part. What's the next experiment I will run to overcome an obstacle? Experiment, reflect and learn from each experiment, and have some fun. We often think of the challenge statement as a big financial result, but the more difficult challenge is developing the capability of people. I hear so many times from Toyota leaders something like process improvement and people development go hand in hand. Toyota Kata focuses the learner on process improvement, following a step-by-step process, a meta skill, and as they do this, they develop the scientific thinking ability, which then becomes a habit. The evil of entropy and how to beat it. Organizational entropy, a tendency toward decay of systems, will naturally cause regression from any new improved state, because it requires more energy than the old steady state. The old steady state is more natural and easier to sustain. Lean transformation pulls the organization out of its steady state. Then, like a rubber band, if we let go, it snaps back to its steady state. Then, like pulling on a rubber band, if we let go, it snaps back to its steady state. Contrary to the notion that lean processes fix problems, the truth is they reveal problems and place a higher burden on leaders, managers, and team members to keep on improving. When we make big changes quickly, we throw people and processes out of a stable state, and the new processes will have many unanticipated weaknesses. Our new processes at this point are still a tentative, desired state. For example, when Toyota launches a new vehicle model in a plant, they expect many problems and depend on each work group to resolve these issues through KAIZEN. The positive energy to counteract entropy comes from work groups improving and taking ownership of the new standards, as well as continuously identifying and correcting deviations from the standards as conditions change and more is learned. In this model, we see the advantage of piloting new technologies or new ideas in a small area first to learn what happens when they bump against reality. Run the experiment and study what happens. The new approach can then be spread gradually from work group to work group. This creates a very different dynamic from mechanistic top-down management, one of having local control rather than having change imposed from senior management and lean specialists coming around to do all the thinking. I have personally participated in many lean transformation efforts and witnessed many others. All too often, a great and exciting start peters out. Some of the reasons for this include 1. Lack of senior management commitment. Senior executives delegate lean down to continuous improvement specialists, but are nowhere to be found at the Gemba and wait for the results to bubble up. Number 2, changing of the guard. More than once when we did have an enthusiastic CEO and thought, this is the one, the CEO soon was pushed out and a new one brought in who had a mechanistic view of lean to get quick financial results. The party was over. Number 3, political jockeying. Great things were happening at the Gemba while staff specialists in departments like quality and HR, who were far from the Gemba, were plotting to take over lean. Number 4, great pilots. Then quickly the order came to go live everywhere at once. Too often when executives see the results, say for one value stream of one plant, they multiply the expected benefits across operations and order the lean folks to make it happen by the end of the year. Number 5, little or no focus on developing desired skills and mindset. The transformation is viewed as a technical problem rather than also a process of developing lean mindset in all their people. The recurring theme is that even when starting out strong organically, things will go bad if the executive level sees lean implementation as an independent variable. The consultants and the internal managers are ordered to do lean, independent variable, get results, the dependent variable, or else. This is far from systems thinking. A better model is to strive for appropriate lean systems, a vision, the dependent variable, then take a scientific approach, the independent variable, and then coming out of this over the long term will be competitive advantage and profits. I don't mean to be a downer. There are still many examples in the second edition of the Toyota Way of companies working to build a culture of excellence for the long term that have had staying power. There were differences in the specifics of how they approached their transformations, but all used a similar pattern. Number 1, they started with a pilot and a challenge of some sort and deployed incrementally and thoughtfully without going too fast for people to absorb, what we called a scientific approach. They thought long-term and had a vision of excellence through a Toyota-like philosophy. They focused on the learning of internal managers, mostly with and sometimes without external consultants who acted as coaches rather than experts with all the answers. Number 4, they took an experimental learning approach rather than an implementation approach. Number 5, in some way, they created a coaching culture with regular feedback so that a disciplined way of acting and approaching problems became habitual. Number 6, they maintain continuity of lean leadership by developing and retaining leaders. And finally, number 7, maybe the most important, they provide job security and will not lay off employees because of Kaizen. Getting to the root cause of success, cultural change. The toughest and most basic challenge for companies that want to learn from Toyota is how to create an aligned organization of individuals who each have the DNA of the organization and are continually learning together to add value to the customer. Culture is all about people sharing values, beliefs, and ways of approaching problems. To really understand the culture, you have to dig deeper in the gemba than what you see on the surface to see if individuals are changing the way they are thinking and acting. The Toyota Way has a depth that goes down to the most basic level of assumptions about the most effective way to perceive, think, and feel in relation to problems. The Toyota Way is explicitly taught in the way that you should transmit culture, through action in day-to-day work, where leaders model the way and coach. Building culture through kata starts with a focus on mindset and behavior, and only through a long process of repeated practice can you create a culture of scientific thinkers. At the core of any successful cultural change effort is mutual trust. If team members don't trust managers, or if managers don't trust team members, the words of continuous improvement and respect for people will be empty. Mutual trust comes from actions, not merely words. Jane Basida, former vice president of Toyota Motor Sales, explained, "The Toyota Way matches everything that they do, team members, every hour of the day. So they are swimming in this culture and this philosophy. We're always doing Kaizen projects. It's a part of who we are." Your organization may not yet be swimming in the culture you desire, so it'll take more work over years to get to the point where people enter a strong, positive culture and immediately begin to get socialized into it. It will take dedication, hard work, and consistency of your vision of excellence. The first step is simply get started. Plan, think, and do. Then keep thinking and doing and reflecting. Good luck on your journey to excellence.